Hello, Oracles! Well, Tesla beats production and delivery records, but they miss expectations when it comes to deliveries. So I'm sure all of you know by now what the numbers are, but I will break them down anyway for you, just in case you haven't seen it. Lots of information to go over, and I decided to wear the green because just because they missed expectations doesn't mean anything. They beat a record, they are still on pace to make awesome growth, still on pace for 50% year-over-year growth, so I am sticking with the green because I'm in this long-term with you guys. So to break down the numbers, I had expectations of 369,000, Wall Street had expectations of 363,000, and they ended coming in with 343,000 for delivery and 365,000 for production, nearly 366,000. So, great on the production side of things. That's still moving in the right direction. Still a little bit shorter of what I had expected, but pretty darn close. So I'm not too far off there. But when it comes to the expectations for the deliveries, that was definitely a lot lower. We had been hearing from Troy Teslake about how the insurance registrations over in China were a lot lower than expected. So they even came in significantly lower than his numbers, and he's usually very accurate. So what ended up happening? So Tesla had discussed how there's a lot of vehicles in transit right now. We know that they had started earlier this year when it comes to exports. So they started on the 21st versus the 26th. So a lot more like that going on in transit. This is something I had discussed as well. There's probably a lot more when it comes to the local deliveries because there are a lot more countries in the Asia Pacific region that they are delivering to. So I thought for sure those boats may have landed. I guess not. So they're still out in transit at the moment. But looking at the growth of deliveries from Q3 of 2021, we were up 42.4% over that time last year. Over Q2 of this year, we were up 35%. And up over Q1 of this year, we were up 12.4%. So still awesome growth for the company. When it comes to production, which is where I focus most of my energy, deliveries are a lot harder to track. So usually I just go by what Troy Teslake says. And for me, I think at least at the end of the year, production and deliveries are going to be relatively the same. So I don't really follow deliveries as much. So looking at the production growth overall, we're looking at a Q3 growth over 2021 of 53.4%. So still on track for 50% year-over-year growth. Over Q2 of this year, we were up 41%, and over Q1 of this year, which was the previous record, we were up 17.7%. Again, amazing growth when it comes to production. We did just get information today that Berlin had produced 2,000 vehicles in a week for the first time, another awesome milestone for them. So I have updated all of my annual numbers for production, and I will go over those in a moment with you guys, but that did bump up my end of the year production numbers. And so far this year, through 3 quarters, Tesla has produced 929,910 vehicles. And now this is nearly the same amount of vehicles that they produced in all of 2021. So Q4 right now is going to be that big piece on the end of the puzzle for the end of this year. In order for Tesla to reach that 50% year-over-year growth, Tesla's going to have to produce 465,000 vehicles in Q4. Based upon the numbers we had seen for internal goals on Friday, Tesla is shooting to produce 495,000 Model 3s and Ys alone. So internally, they are looking to be producing over 500,000 vehicles for Q4. That is a stretch goal in my opinion. I personally have them producing 482,000 vehicles in Q4, but you got to remember that right now Shanghai is producing at 93%. They're working 6.5 days per week, so that's probably fine. That's good to go at. That allows them to give a little extra push at the end of the year if need be. We still have Berlin and Austin that are just still starting to ramp up. Both of them are still working just 2 shifts. Berlin is only working 5 days a week as well. I believe Berlin right now, as of the last we heard, they're looking to be adding that 3rd shift in December. So we can see a surprise push coming out of Berlin. And again, if they just hit 2,000 vehicles per week recently, that ramp is significantly faster than I had previously had them at. I do not know if they're going to end up breaking down by factory who has productions for what when it comes to Q3 earnings. We'll figure that out. Earnings are going to be on October 19th this year. This is the date that most people had predicted, so that is the date that we are going to see them. So hopefully they break down by factory which the production is going to be. I truly don't know, but again, I pushed up my ramp on Berlin a little bit for the end of the year, which ironically was an exact compensation for what I thought they were going to be over for production in Q3. So that worked out to be about the same. So my end of the year numbers basically stayed the same. It just shifted, production from one factory to another and from one quarter to another. Not a huge deal. And now when it comes to deliveries, Tesla has delivered 908,573 vehicles through the first 3 quarters of this year. And now this is 28,000 vehicles lower than they produced through all of 2021. Now, ironically, they carried over about 10,000 vehicles from July into August, which then carried into September. And now we have seen that they have produced 22,000 more vehicles in Q3 than they have delivered. So that means that they produced 12,000 more that are still in transit based upon what Tesla has told us in September. So that's basically a 22,000 vehicle inventory that we are carrying over into Q4. So that almost offsets that 28,000 difference when we're coming to production and deliveries based upon last year's numbers. So now looking at what we need to deliver in order to hit 50% year-over-year growth for deliveries, we need 496,000 vehicles to get delivered in Q4. So again, with Tesla's internal production goals of over 500,000 vehicles and carrying over 22,000 vehicles into Q4, we are looking at the potential of hitting 500,000 vehicles getting delivered and definitely matching that number for 50% year-over-year growth. Now again, looking historically, every Q4 that Tesla has produced and delivered vehicles, they have matched in Q4 what they had previously 2 years beforehand. So for instance, this year, if they hit 500,000 vehicles getting delivered for Q4, that would match what they did for the entire year of 2020. So that is what they have done previously. In 2021 they did it, in 2020 they did it. This is what they're striving for again. They've done it in the past. Can they do it again? I think it's totally possible based upon the fact that they have all of these vehicles already in transit to get delivered. They have a lot more countries right now that are taking deliveries. So if there are any demand issues, which we know is going to be spoken about tomorrow when it comes to the shorts and the entire Wall Street market saying, well, Tesla's not delivering. How come they produced so many but didn't deliver? Their demand in China must be down. That is the argument that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So with that said, we have them in transit. Tesla just needs to deliver on that and say, look, they were in transit. They are getting delivered. Of course, we won't find that number out until the end of the quarter, but that's what Tesla is telling us. Do you believe them or not? I do. With all the countries they have that they can deliver to right now, I do think that they're in transit. And Tesla themselves did say back at the end of 2021, they're not looking to try and do these end of the quarter pushes anymore. They're just trying to smooth things out and make it even, because trying to pay for those last minute shipping costs ends up being very expensive, and trying to push things out, it makes it easier for the finances if they just smooth things out and not have these cycles of going up and down all the time. Plus, one of the things that I look at is, how is Elon behaving on Twitter? Now, some people may think that this is just a silly metric to look at, but when you look at the end of quarter two, he was dead silent on Twitter for the end of Q2. And I mean, that was a major push. They were really behind the eight ball. They had a lot of headwinds that they were facing. Elon, we know, was focused in the factories to make things happen. This time around, he was a lot more jovial, doing his normal Elon stuff when it comes to the end of this quarter. So for me, it doesn't seem like he was as concerned about the numbers. They're hitting record numbers. They're growing at the pace that they want to grow at. So I'm sure he was working his butt off to help drive these numbers. We know that the entire company was pushing for it, but Elon wasn't silent and just completely focused like he was at the end of Q2. So this tells me that they are still on the pace that they are looking at, and they're comfortable with the growth that they have seen. And so again, when it comes to my production forecast for Q4, I have them at 482,000 vehicles getting produced, which means I believe they're going to be delivering 505,000 vehicles. I think they are going to offset that. They are going to hit that 50% year-over-year growth. That's where I think they're going to be at. They might actually be higher on production. Who knows? But based upon the ramp and the inventory that they're carrying over, that's what I currently have them at. So I have them producing and delivering 1.41 million vehicles at the end of the year for 2022. And to do a quick earnings preview of Q3 for what I have right now, based upon the numbers that we just got for deliveries, I'm looking at an EPS of $1.13 per share with a 30.2% margins, and I do think energy is going to be a bit of a surprise, coming in at $1.5 billion. That won't factor significantly into this, but that growth in itself is just at the very beginnings of that exponential ramp, so this is something we really need to start paying attention to going forward. So that is going to put us now at, based upon today's price, at a PE of 59. So I know a lot of the pushback right now is Tesla's PE is so high, that's why they're not going to perform well, that's why the stock is going to crash. But when you're looking at a PE ratio of a 59, that's coming down. Amazon right now has a PE ratio that is higher than Tesla's. Tesla currently has a PE ratio of 99, while Amazon's is 103. Now you tell me, who do you think has more growth ahead of them, Tesla or Amazon? So now if Tesla's is going to drop down to a 59 based upon my numbers, that's a significant drop as well. And we are going to see an even bigger drop when it comes to Q4. So lots of macro stuff still has to go on. So what do I think the stock is going to be doing tomorrow? I think we're going to go red. A couple of reasons why. We got a lackluster response when it comes to AI Day 2, which is what we all expected anyway. Those of us who are really excited about Tesla's future, we're excited about it, but a lot of people were kind of like, meh, show me something else. That's nothing. That means nothing to me right now. Totally understandable, and that was the reaction we expected to get. Now with delivery numbers coming in with a miss based upon expectations, despite the fact that they were record numbers, that's another negative reason that the market is going to push down the stock. We also have the Fed coming out over the weekend saying that they're going to be having an emergency meeting on Monday. That's never good to hear, so chances are the entire market is going to be down, and then because of the fact that we got this information from Tesla over the weekend, we might see an underperformance from Tesla in an already red market tomorrow. So when we're looking at these gaps of 258 and 247, we've been talking about them for quite a while now. There's a good chance we may be filling these gaps this week. So again, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but just looking at the patterns that we have been on, again, discussing this inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is a bullish pattern to be in, but you do have to go through some negative times in the meantime. So pulling down to fill these gaps would be continuing to form that head. Then we would rebound and come back up. That's just what I'm looking at near term based upon the news that we have just gotten, based upon the charts that we are seeing. That just tells me that we are probably headed in that direction. Again, don't know the future, but this looks like it's where we are going to be going. Then, of course, we would rebound and come back up, probably heading into Q3 earnings, which the earnings themselves could be a surprise despite the fact that we got that miss on expectations when it comes to deliveries. So we might get good earnings. And then don't forget, after the Q3 earnings, I am expecting us to be getting that credit rating upgrade from the S&P. That could be the catalyst that takes us on that breakout from this inverse head and shoulders pattern. This is just what I am seeing based upon the charts. Again, don't know for sure, but that's what I'm tracking. And again, I will be going over this week in a live stream with you guys to show you all the charts, to show you where we're at, to track all of this, to show where we're moving along on the path. But again, this is what I think we're going to be seeing tomorrow. To me, awesome buying opportunity. Again, a lot of the reasons why I track the day-to-day movements is just to help teach myself how to learn the pulse of the stock market and Tesla stock itself and how it moves. And for me, I'm doing that because I don't have a lot of shares, so I want to buy a lot more for less because this is the time that I want to accumulate as many as I can. Because when we do start running back to the moon, and I do think that we will run back to the moon, you're not going to be able to buy as much as we're running up. It's exciting times when we're running up, but you can't buy as much at that time. This is why right now I'm excited to buy as much as I can. So if we're suppressed for this time, that's fine. And accumulating during these times is where those fortunes are born. You got to plant the seeds now during a down market because eventually we will get back to a bull market where PE ratios won't be compressed like they are right now. They'll be allowed to run a little bit higher based upon stocks and future growth. So that's where I'm looking at it. So still looking like we are going to be getting a red day tomorrow. I'm excited about it to buy more, not excited about it because we did miss expectations. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you guys feel about this miss? How do you feel about the production numbers? How do you think the stock is going to react this week? Let me know your thoughts. I know it's a lot to go over, so we can definitely discuss a lot in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. If you found any value in this video, please consider sharing it with others. We do have a membership program where I will be sharing all of my production and delivery numbers at the Oracle 2 level and above. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. And I do have a Patreon if you'd like to support the channel any further, and I share all of my production and delivery numbers there as well, along with my valuation model as well. Thank you all so much. Have a great one.